You are about to experience Jackson Snyder Presents. Direct from the Vero Essene Yahad, a Hebrew Nation radio original program. JSP is a variety show seeking out Jewish and Christian origins, religion, theology and history, and doing so in a fashion that is both educational and entertaining. Welcome to Jackson Snyder Presents.
Hello, everybody, and especially you subscribers. This is Jackson Snyder, YouTube1.org. I noticed in my last post on the Great Reset there was quite a bit of interest there. I talked about a financial scam that went along with this Great Reset, and I got a note back from somebody that said it wasn't a scam, or there was no scam connected to the Great Reset, but I know there is because so many people around me are part of it. I mean, literally 50 to 100 people I know are involved in a financial currency scam based on the Great Reset, where they have been told if they buy a certain currency, primarily a worthless currency like Iraqi dinar or Vietnamese dong. Now, the Egyptian dollar is another one, that when the Great Reset comes in, these currencies are going to be reset on par with the dollar, and the worthless currency will bring in thousands of dollars or even millions of dollars, even with a small investment in these currencies. As I said, I know a lot of people involved in this, yet I don't find much on the internet about it. And I've been told by some of these people that there are something like 3 million people or more that are involved in this currency swapping scam. I call it a scam, maybe you won't. What I did find was a Reddit post that gives a typical story of the scam I'm talking about, and in this post, the situations are almost exactly alike from what I have experienced here. I want to go to that Reddit post now for you and to read it off, hear what you think. Someone wrote in for advice. A few years ago, my grandparents gave my mom some foreign currency, Vietnam dong, as a birthday present. Apparently, it was meant to be revaluated in the near future, which has always been just out of reach ever since, at which point the face value of the two 500,000 dong notes that they bought for about $75 could suddenly be taken at about a cool million each. Then there would be some form of queue to cash in based on your area code or some message, and everyone who was genius enough to throw money at this scheme is a millionaire because Vietnam just poofed itself into the first world. Questions I have for you guys are, where is this coming from? How can I, if I need to? She's not living for it as far as I can tell, but it comes up every once in a while in a when I finally win the lottery kind of way. How can I disprove it? And how much damage other than false hope can a middle-aged woman with a 400-ish credit score and no income to do herself if she thinks she's about to make $2 million out of nowhere for nothing? I first heard of this years ago. I thought at the time it was ludicrous. I was under pressure. This is me talking. I was under pressure to get in on this, and I bought 100,000 in dong so I could just say, well, okay, I've got it already. I'm in. That was 4 years ago. Dong right now, you can trade in. 1 million dong will get you $43. I bought 100,000 dong note for about $100, and right now that dong is worth $4.32. So I would say definitely this is a scam, and I don't doubt that you know people who are involved in it or you're involved in it. I know people who have not only put thousands of dollars into this that they couldn't afford, but they have also got all their relatives and friends involved as well, taking money from them to buy dong with and being something like a fiduciary or beneficiary or a middleman just to get them involved in the hope and in some cases the firm belief that this kind of investment will indeed reap millions of dollars. I know this has been going on for at least 18 years since I first heard of it. A funny thing about it is, a lot of these people are looking forward to every Sunday because this is supposed to come through on a Sunday, and then every Sunday leads to a sad, disappointed Monday when it doesn't happen. But through a network of callers, by the time Tuesday comes and these investors talk to others, by the time Sunday rolls around again, they are back on top, absolutely sure that if it doesn't come in on that Sunday, it will come in the next Sunday. Years and years and years. One respondent here writes, wouldn't this also make everybody in Vietnam millionaires? And the original questioner says, yeah, that's my current argument. There's almost definitely an entire Treasury Department equivalent in the Vietnamese bureaucracy whose entire job is to keep this from happening. Just looking for some hardcore written words. She trusts me on most things, but this is a kind of willful ignorance that just ignores all my logic. Another one who answered says, what will really happen is that these notes will be replaced by the Vietnamese government. All notes will then need to be exchanged for new notes. After that, the old notes are worthless. And the notes you're talking about are probably already worthless. Then another comments, by giving a website, an exchange website, with a 10-year comparison of Vietnam versus USA currency, that if you go back 10 years, $1 million dong was worth $62. Now it's like $43, and it has been continuously losing value over the last 10 years. The original questioner says, whip that puppy out on day one of her entering this dream world. And as an aside, yes, some people I know are living in a dream world. He says, I found a lot of articles red flagging currency as an investment. I'm looking for the origin of her line of thinking, mostly, and how you approach someone who thinks the projections don't account for when the currency gets revalued at 1-to-1. One of my more prophetic friends says, probably rightly so, that this particular investment is a kind of witchcraft, that even believers who were good believers see this money, get greedy, and then obtain a spell over them such that they can't say that this is wrong, or that the projections are wrong, or they are wrong in regard to this. And they've thought it out and thought it out and thought it out, and their belief is that when the money comes rolling in, of course, they won't be able to get it all at one time because you would need a Mack truck to do that, but that it will be doled out according to your area code, your zip code, or according to textual notes that come to your phone, or group by group of networking telephoning groups. And in a few cases, some of these people who have purchased this currency have said to me that if they put together a proposal for a nonprofit charity or a project that does good for the world, then they will receive 4 times more than one that doesn't. Another respondent says, don't even bother trying to convince her that she is wrong. You'll just frustrate yourself and won't change her mind. She has bigger issues to deal with than her current fantasy. Personally, I gave up on trying to convince anybody of anything because I have tried. Believe me, I have tried. But as my prophetic friend said, there seems to be a spell over these people. I mean, a great delusion, and that Yahweh is going to bless them with these millions of dollars because they have an intention to do some good with it. I suppose the same ones that play the lottery every week and are expecting to be a winner on the account of their God who wants to bless them. The original writer says, agreed, but getting her past that fantasy may be essential in tackling those issues. Don't want to ask her a year from now about her long-term plans, and the answer is, oh, sweetie, the Vietnamese are about to make me so wealthy, but not until next week. So how about that extra room you've got there? Gotta keep trying. Just need the right angle, I think. I think your right angle is probably a strong deliverance minister. Another respondent says, this is a common scam. Let me guess. She learned all this stuff from some weekly conference call with some financy type people. These free conference solutions actually pay people who lead conference calls based on the number of users. People aren't aware that they can make money from the conference call itself, so they assume there's nothing in it for the people offering them this advice. Therefore, it must be legit. A guy I know, he says, who has been scammed and conned several times in his life, recently lost $10,000 to one of these after I attempted to explain the scam to him several times. Some people are just helpless and need to be a part of some underground group to make them feel special because they know something that other people don't. It's similar to the mindset of conspiracy theorists. In fact, most of the people that fall for these scams are big conspiracy theorists because it's really the same psychology at play. So I agree with this, of course. It could be another form of the scam where she is using some BS software that she pays for to make the trades, that is, to buy the currency, or she could be paying for them to manage her account. Either way, if she refuses to listen, then there's nothing that can be done. All you can do is find out more info from her about the process and see what you can find on Google to show her. It's hard to find anything on Google about this. Another respondent, thank you for this. I have a customer pushing me to invest, so they've already spent about $20,000. I listened to one call and so many red flags went off, but his defense was that these guys aren't asking for money, so they're legit. Knowing they get paid by the number of people on the call explains what they are getting out of it. You can't reason somebody out of a position that they didn't reason themselves into. I would try to find an authoritative source describing why it's a bad idea, or an account of someone else who was scammed, and then show it to her. I might add, nobody's been scammed by this scam yet. Unto its consummation, because the beat just goes on week after week, year after year. There's no embarrassment here, but still the constant call, buy the stuff, you'll be a millionaire. Dear listener, think that through. If you bought just one note, like I did, the 100,000 dong note, and if that was reset to 1-to-1, I would have invested $100 on $100,000 dong, and I would get back $100,000. That's 1-to-1. But so many of these people have put everything they've had into it. Plus, they made their projected nonprofit organization as well, so they can get 4 times as much. Another respondent writes, welcome to currency trading. Usually currency traders don't actually take possession of the currency, but it happens from time to time. There have been a number of great wins, such as when Japan yen lost more than half of its value to US dollar a couple of decades back. The benefit being that because Japan and the US are close trading partners, exchanging your yen for US dollars was easy to do and vice versa. Since the yen grew quite strong and then devalued again, those who caught the wave made slightly less than bond returns over the same period, and this is why bonds are generally more attractive than currency markets. You might ask, if the trade was 1 to 1.5 and reversed to 0.5 to 1 and back again, why didn't those people become instant millionaires or billionaires? Well, there's a small matter of how many years the trade required to complete. It took decades. When you average the return over the period, the trade was worth about 3.6% a year, or only about 1.6% more than inflation, and over 6% less than a standard market index fund for the same period. The second problem is that just because you bought a pile of cash from a country doesn't mean that country does enough trade to allow you to then trade back to your native currency. There are a lot of currencies where banks simply don't have enough money to cash you out. Instead, you get $100 every other month or so. I can just see some of these people with their wheelbarrow full of dong taking it down to a currency selling bank like Wells Fargo or TD Bank, to exchange it in, where would they put it all? This respondent ends up by saying, currency trading for the 99% is an idiot's game of how to gamble money faster than ever before. Don't do it. And finally on this thread, we have a Vietnamese person here who says, Vietnamese here, you can tell your mom that people over there don't even know about this. My relatives in Vietnam usually buy gold or even U.S. dollar to hedge against high inflation in the country. This is the first time I've heard someone buying Vietnamese dong to get rich. Well, why am I hearing this all the time? All the time. People around me are vested in this, including some relatives, and to a great degree. Some of them have been for years. But now really they're not wanting to talk much about it more because they think that their dreams of riches is hope beyond hope. They have been inveigled into this with somebody saying this could happen anytime. And I've heard several of the calls, that is the network calls of people that are into this. Man, it is really confidence building to hear what is said on the call. And of course, this is linked to the QAnon conspiracy, as well as the Great Reset. It's something that Trump personally is going to see to, and from what I've heard, all the nations in the world are lined up for this now, whereas it was hindered in the past because a couple of countries weren't lined up, like North Korea and Pakistan, but now they're all lined up. So here's another incentive that it could happen at any time. I would like to hear your experiences with this, if you're into it, if you know people that are, or even if you've heard about it. I just can't imagine I'm the only one in the world that hears about this from people I know as one who's really sitting on the sidelines of this. Actually, it frustrates me because I think, if I dare say it, that the people I know must be either very greedy, very desperate, or mentally ill to some extent to continue to hold on to this. Well, the dong is going down, down, down again, even though it recently hit its highest point. It's like a mass hysteria. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you know. I want to know more. If I don't have it straight, please correct me. In the meantime, here is another article about the Great Reset featuring, one of our favorite people, the inventor of the internet, Al Gore, the Vietnam War hero, John Kerry, and other world leaders who call for radical Great Reset of capitalism. And I would imagine that includes the revaluation of the currency. And this comes from Epoch Times and features a beautiful picture of a smiling Al Gore that's suitable for framing. The COVID-19 pandemic has produced unprecedented economic conditions. Around the world, millions of people have lost their jobs, thousands of businesses have closed, and travel has been limited. The United States hasn't experienced an economic calamity of this magnitude since the Great Depression. But one man's economic depression can be another man's golden opportunity. The words used by another favorite, Prince Charles, at a recent meeting of world powers seeking to impose a great reset of the global economy. Now, if they're resetting the economy, of course, they're reevaluating the currency. But these guys are really smart, taking advantage of the situation. And I wouldn't doubt if they started this whole dong thing out to help bankrupt the people in their countries. For Charles and other powerful international leaders, the current economic chaos offers a chance to remake nations across the planet because desperate populations are now, quote, more receptive to big visions of change. We have a golden opportunity to seize something good from this crisis. Its unprecedented shockwaves may well make people more receptive to big visions of change, says our Prince Charles. It's an opportunity we have never had before and may never have again. Of course, he's right. The present state of affairs is so chaotic that virtually anything is possible, including a total transformation of capitalism, and that's precisely what Charles and his allies want. At a virtual meeting held by the World Economic Forum, or WEF, in June, global leaders, including Charles, gathered together to call for a great reset of capitalism. Among those who spoke at the event or expressed their support separately for the plan were Ma Yun, the chairman of the Green Finance Committee at the China Society for Finance and Banking, and a member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the People's Bank of China. Oh yeah, we need to get deeper in business with him. How about Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the United Nations? Powerful union leaders, activists from groups such as Greenpeace International, CEOs and presidents of large corporations such as BP, MasterCard, Microsoft, and the officials from the International Monetary Fund, not to mention numerous recent fat cats who made their money selling their IPOs, which are now social media programs that we all use. Many of those at the meeting support the elimination of the world's current capitalist system and have promoted socialist policies, such as wealth taxes, Green New Deal-like programs, national job guarantees, and government incomes. But the person who has most clearly articulated the vision of the Great Reset is Klaus Schwab, the head of the World Economic Forum and one of the Reset's most ardent supporters. He's also the one that wrote the book. This might not be such a bad idea if it weren't for the people who are for it, people who are billionaires, and as such, they've made their money, so they've got nothing to lose by putting the bit into the mouths of the common people of the world. Every country from the United States to China must participate, and every industry from oil and gas to tech must be transformed, Schwab wrote in an article published on WEF's website. In short, we need a great reset of capitalism. He also said that all aspects of our societies and economics must be revamped, from education to social contracts and working conditions. Of course, the elites at the World Economic Forum know that COVID-19 pandemic won't last forever, so how do they plan to pressure thousands of government officials and billions of people into adopting their vision for the global reset? My conspiracy-loving friends told me, this is a done deal anyway. Let's take advantage of it. But as for these people, they're going to be able to do it by turning to yet another crisis: climate change. In presentation after presentation, speakers at WEF's June event used climate change and environmental sustainability as a primary justification for a permanent global economic overhaul. The threat of climate change has been more gradual, but its devastating reality for many people and their livelihoods around the world, and its ever greater potential to disrupt, surpasses even that of COVID-19, Prince Charles said. As terrifying as all this sounds to those of us who support free markets and property rights, the worst has yet to come. At the June event, the World Economic Forum announced that the Great Reset will be the focus of its next highly influential annual meeting in Davos, scheduled for January 2021. That's in Switzerland. At the Davos meeting, powerful business leaders, government officials, activists, and academics will promote the Great Reset and coordinate a massive worldwide campaign to promote their agenda with a large youth activist organization called the Global Shapers Community. This sounds like National Socialism. The Global Shapers are present in 400 cities around the world and have close ties to Al Gore's Radical Climate Reality Project, which has already trained more than 1,300 people in climate activism. Gore, who serves on the World Economic Forum's Board of Trustees, has a vast network of climate activists of his own, the Climate Reality Leadership Corps, which could also be used to promote the Great Reset, especially through strikes and protests. Climate reality leaders played a key role in the highly publicized climate strikes that occurred throughout the world in 2019. In a June 19 interview with NBC's Today television show, Gore endorsed the Great Reset, making him the first notable U.S. political figure to do so. But Gore isn't alone. Since that interview, John Kerry, the co-chair of Joe Biden's climate change and the hero of the Vietnam War, has also promoted the Great Reset and even encouraged the World World Economic Forum to continue leading on the effort. This is a big moment, Kerry said. The World Economic Forum is really going to have to play a front and a center role in refining the Great Reset to deal with climate change and inequity, all of which is being laid bare as a consequence of COVID-19. With Gore and Kerry already actively promoting the Great Reset, it's only a matter of time before it becomes a key part of the left's platform, and potentially Biden's too, for 2020 and beyond. This is a remarkable and dangerous moment for freedom, both in the United States and across the planet. Not only has government used the COVID-19 pandemic to increase its power, world leaders are now planning to expand it dramatically in the years to come through their Great Reset reforms. If we don't stop this radical move toward collectivism and the decimation of capitalism, the world's freedom movement might never recover. This is by Justin Haskins, the editor-in-chief of StoppingSocialism.com. You know what, my friend? Socialism can work. It can work. The key to socialism working in a wonderful way is who is on top of the heap. In these socialist movements, a benevolent character comes in, almost as a messiah. And when they achieve power, they turn. And what was in their mind in the first place is a radical hatred for other people, a radical desire for totalitarian power and personal power, and often vengeance against everybody for their personal hardships growing up. But socialism can work if it's a theocratic socialism. You have to have Messiah on the top of the heap. You have to have Messiah cleaning the swamp, draining and dredging it out. I think this world would be wonderful if Messiah was the despot, the tyrant, instead of these little demigods with their billions of dollars, with their teeth all fixed up fine, with their Italian suits, with their Priuses, and with their snotty condescension. Oh, if they could be converted. But they can't, because there's no human being left in them except fat flesh and bones inhabited by a Gibor. Look that one up in your Hebrew dictionary. Why do the nations rage and the people plot a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against Yahweh and against his anointed, saying, "Let us break their bands in pieces and cast away their cords from us." He who sits in the heavens shall laugh. Yahweh shall hold them in derision. Then he shall speak to them in his wrath and distress them in his deep displeasure. Yet I have set my king on my holy hill of Zion. Here I am. I will declare the decree. Yahweh has said to me, "You are my son. Today I have begotten you. Ask of me, and I will give you the nations for your inheritance, and the ends of the earth for your possession. You shall break them with a rod of iron. You shall dash them to pieces like a potter's vessel. Now therefore be wise, O kings. Be instructed, you judges of the earth. Serve Yahweh with fear. Rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry and you perish in the way, when his wrath is kindled but a little. Blessed are all those who put their trust in him. Yes, my friends, that's where my trust goes in these days and trying times. I hope the same for you, because as unreal as this heavenly kingdom seems to be, it is more real than any human government, economic scheme, or giveaway program. He set his angels in charge of the climate, and by his name, they will manage it rightly, according to his will. Amen. You have been listening to Jackson Snyder Presents on Hebrew Nation Radio.